Hey, it's Sammy for another episode of the I Do Music podcast, and our goal and our mission is to empower and educate musicians and artists worldwide. And on today's episode, we sat down with co-owner of Street Exec Studio, Tech, discussing his transition from DJ to executive, contributing to shaping the culture of music, and how he continues to be innovative despite our current circumstances. Hey, it's Sammy for another episode of the I Do Music podcast, and I'm sitting down with music manager, entrepreneur, all the things. Tech, how are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm well. Good to see you.
Same here. Same here.
Yeah, it's been a minute. I'm happy to finally get you on the podcast. I know, you don't really do these things. And I mean, that's the same for most people that I sit down with. So we're just having a conversation. So I know currently you are over at Street Execs. You manage a roster of phenomenal talent. I've had the opportunity to work with you doing some media training for them.
Right.
And then just beyond that, you have lent me your ear and your advice through business. So we're going to get into some of those things. But I'm curious as to how you got your start in music to begin with. How did it all transpire? I know the story, but they don't know the story.
I used to DJ. I think that's where it started. My love of music really started with DJing. And then my business partner, Alan, was actually my manager.
Oh, really?
When I was a DJ.
That I did not know.
And I lost my train of thought.
It's okay.
No, Alan was my manager, and then we ended up managing together. Our first group was Travis Porter. We met Charlie. Charlie was working Travis Porter at the time. So we teamed up, and those were the first clients that we really started managing. But I think before I got to that, I realized that what I was doing for other people was kind of management. I just wasn't getting paid for it. So I learned the ropes. I used to hang around Rico Brooks a lot, so I picked up a lot from him. It was passion-driven more than anything. Travis Porter was the first group. And we transitioned to, just 2 Chainz, Young Dolph, Bankroll, Schoolie, Trouble, and the new acts, Sleepy Rose, Hot Locked In, and Wild.
Right.
And Big Papito's a producer.
So how did you get, let's rewind a little bit. How did you even get into DJing? What was that for you?
It was just something I loved, as a teen in high school.
You started early?
Yeah, I started early, kind of like freshman in high school. I used to be the guy who used to do all the parties, with cassette tapes. Back then it was cassette tapes. I guess that says how old I am. I used to, play music. I used to be the one who was one to tell people, this is a new song you need to check out. Mm-hmm. And then I saved my lunch money, bought my turntables, and then, started doing parties in high school.
That's tight.
Transitioned into mixtapes when I got out of high school. I tried to go to college for 1 semester. It just didn't work out. Yeah.
Now, you're not from Atlanta.
No, I'm not from Atlanta.
Where are you from?
I was born in Kenya, grew up in Baltimore, went to college, tried to go to college in Arkansas, and then moved to Atlanta.
Where in Arkansas?
Magnolia. It's a real small city.
How did you even think to go to Arkansas? That's such
It was cheap.
Oh, okay.
It was
Understood.
I could afford it, working a job and paying for college.
Right.
But that didn't last long.
You didn't like it. So, Baltimore, let's talk about Baltimore. That's going from Kenya to Baltimore, it seems like a very different transition, one.
It is.
2, that city is just a special place in itself.
Is it?
I went to school. I went to school not too far, D.C., so I have a lot of friends who are from there.
And D.C. is still a totally different city
Exactly.
from, Baltimore is, if you've seen The Wire, I used to live in Baltimore. The Wire is a true depiction of when I lived in Baltimore. It was horrible. And, one summer I was just I'm gone. I had $200-300. I put my turntables in my car, my vinyl, and I actually I was quitting DJing. I was done with music. I was
Why?
I'm going to move to Atlanta. I'm going to go get a job and, I guess live my life. And I drove down, and when I got to, I remember it was Memorial Weekend. Traffic was bad on 285, so I got off. I went to get some wings, and I ran into a guy I went to high school with, and he had moved down here before me, and he was actually a promoter. Mm-hmm. So he kind of, he was like, hey, you still DJ? I was like, yeah. He'd say, I need a DJ for tonight. And I was like, shit, I just got down here. I don't have a job. I don't even know where I'm going to stay. So I took the job. DJ for him, and he had a couple clubs that he was promoting to. So I kind of got a job DJing again.
That's crazy.
And it was like, at that moment, I was giving up, but it ended up working out.
Right. What club was that? Do you remember?
It was a sports bar on Roswell Road. I can't remember the name of it, but he had a couple other spots in Buckhead when Buckhead was popping till like 6 in the morning. I can't recall nothing.
It's okay.
It's been a while.
But that's just ironic that you're like, I'm done with music. Get down here. The first person you see, they're like, I got a job for you tonight.
Exactly. So it was God.
Yeah.
It was God.
Yeah, it was destined too. I love that. So I mean, so you were DJing, you were doing in the nightlife here in Atlanta. Obviously, doing these parties at that time, people actually partied. They, going up till 6 in the morning. What was that transition for you, like going from DJ to more of like the executive side, working with like these artists? I know you said your first official client would have been the group Travis Porter.
Right.
But like, what did that transition look like for you? Was it easy for you? If it were, why?
I can't say it was easy, but I also can't say it was difficult. It was kind of like ambition and passion drives you that you don't even pay attention to the struggles. You know what I'm saying? It's like at some point it got to a point where we had it in our minds that we were going to make it. There was no plan B. So it was like, getting evicted, having no money was like, I don't care. I have a goal. Like, this is more important to me. So I lost a lot of things. I lost a lot of friends. But it was never in my mind, there was no plan B. Right. So it was just tunnel vision. That's really what it was. So it was exciting. It was difficult when I think back at it. At the moment, I didn't really feel like it was tough. But when I think back the way I was living, the way I was moving, the hours I was sleeping, it was tough. But I was enjoying it. I was having fun. I was, doing stuff that I only dreamed that I could do. I was breaking barriers, impacting culture. So it was just, it was fun.
Now, these Travis Porter days, that's literally my upbringing. That's how I grew up. That's the parties that we had. All you heard was Travis Porter, Rich Kids, like right. Schoolie, that era. I'm curious as to, why y'all decided to back or like manage this group at the time. Like, what was it? Did they kind of come, how did y'all come into Travis Porter? Like,
right. So, like I said, I used to do mixtapes back then. I was actually a tour DJ for Gorilla Zoe.
Oh, wow.
And I used to do mixtapes on the side. Mm-hmm. So I used to, discover a lot of new talent. So I was on YouTube and I saw a video. It was kind of like a vlog they put on YouTube, and it was hilarious. And it was like, they were like 16, 17, something like that. And it was hilarious. It was a lot of personality, a lot of character. And I just kind of fell in love with them. And so I seeked them out, seeked out their music, and I started putting it on mixtapes. And then, then I found out Charlie was managing them at the time, and he was trying to, break them or whatever. So, we sat down, we had lunch, and it was like, it was on from then on. It was kind of like we were all new to it, and we were all trying to figure it out, and we all had kind of like a common goal. And I think when you have that chemistry, it can't be broken. It can't be stopped.
So what do you think it is? I mean, they just recently did the
10-year anniversary, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, what do you think, what were some of the things that you learned early on working with them, especially like a group of guys, young guys at that? What were some key things that you learned through their process of, like, maybe in hindsight you didn't realize at the time, like, this could have worked? Right. I'm sure there were challenges, but I guess my question is, how did you learn from working with them initially, and then how are you applying that with like the artists that you have now?
I think the biggest thing I learned was work ethic, is really knowing, because I was messing with a couple other artists and, they're going named, but I noticed the difference, what makes people make it and what makes you not make it. And a big part of it is work ethic. You got to want to do stuff that you don't want to do. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? You got to do stuff that everybody's passing up. You got to go above and beyond. So it was just a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of, couple hours of sleep, get up, go to the next city. They had the work ethic, and that's like one thing that I look for when I meet, new acts. I pay attention to their work ethic.
That's important.
Yeah, it's a big part of it. Like they say, talent is 20%. work ethic is way more than that.
Absolutely.
I don't want to say it's 80%, but it's a really big part of it, because you can have. I know an artist there was an artist I was in love with, who I still think is one of the best rappers that ever came out of Atlanta, but he never really got to his full potential because he had no work ethic. I would go to the studio with him, 8-hour sessions, and he would do a freestyle. It's like, we just wasted 8 hours.
Right.
So, compared to Travis Porter, an 8-hour session will come out with 6-7 songs.
Right.
So that was like, it shows you the difference in the range. If it takes you 8 hours to do a freestyle,
we're not going to get nowhere.
We're not going nowhere.
So, I mean, you guys have been navigating pretty well amidst everything that's going on. I saw the parking lot concerts. I was super jealous in LA. Like,
Right.
Dang, I missed Travis Porter. Dang, I missed another one.
It was fun.
It seemed very innovative despite what's going on amidst COVID and,
Right.
The movement. There's so many things. And just bringing some joy to our community,
Right.
which I've always respected about street execs. Y'all are very innovative when it comes to rollout, marketing, all these things.
Thank you.
Yeah. How have you personally been able to navigate? Is it something that, are y'all coming up with these ideas together? Like,
Yeah, it's always a group effort with us. It's definitely always a group effort. We might be in a think tank and somebody might say something and somebody else adds to it, and it just, turns into like a avalanche snowball effect. It's definitely a group project. But with COVID, it's kind of like, you can't sit around and be idle. So you just have to restructure how you're doing business and go with the times, pretty much.
Yeah.
I think it's that simple. But, one thing I'm not going to do is just be at home doing nothing,
Yeah, it's kind of strange, but it's just like, you can't not move forward. It's just like you definitely have to just reframe your mind.
Definitely.
And wrap your mind around it. But at the same time, do you take a moment to say, process things, or has it affected you or you guys at all?
Not really.
Yeah.
Not really. It has. Let me not say not really. Actually, yeah, it has business-wise, as far as obviously performances, live performances are a big part of the business, and that's kind of like gone away.
Yeah.
So that's how the parking lot concert was kind of born, is trying to find, a way to still entertain people. It really started as an idea for Schoolie. That's really where it came from. It was like, we had an album coming out.
Right.
We had a listening event, which we did at a Moreland Drive-In, trying to think of everything social distancing to still activate and still like create an awareness for his album. And that's how the parking lot concert was born. It was kind of like an idea for Schoolie. And when we did it, it was like, we can kind of do this all summer, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Rather than having nothing to do, this is something we can do all summer and just, invite other people to be a part of it, for the most part. And I think, it's in our DNA too. I know, years ago we used to do a Christmas concert, which was kind of like the same concept of having other people that we weren't even in business with or we didn't manage and inviting them to share the stage with us. So it's the same concept with Parking Lot. And so far, we're 4 weeks in. It's sold out every weekend. And, it's not just our roster. We're stepping out of it. So we're trying to keep it going all summer. If, if the city doesn't get in our way.
Right, right. Yeah, Atlanta's been wilding. That's what I will say.
But with the parking lot, we're keeping people safe. You sit in your car, you can watch from your car. They have vendors, you can go get drinks if you want to. They can bring the drinks to your car. We try to keep the contact limited,
yeah.
Real limited. So it's not just, hey, come out here and party. That's really what it is. Right?
It's a very genius, very innovative concept. That's why I was like, from afar looking in, I'm like, y'all always are very forward thinking, which I appreciate. So how do you think your current roster of artists fits into like the landscape of music, if they do? Because like you guys how are they shaping what's coming out of Atlanta right now? Like I've had the opportunity to speak to like Sleepy Rose, see them perform.
Right.
Even y'all were at where was that? I can't even remember right now, but y'all were at somewhere and it was a big concert or like a pop-up concert.
Right. With them right now, I'm in a stage of developing acts, which is kind of like the most fun stage for me is watching something grow and bloom and guiding them in the right direction. So that's where I am now. So I think, in the next year, 2 years, we'll really see what they have to offer from the city of Atlanta. But Atlanta is so cultural. I think every artist that comes out of here kind of gives a piece of who they are, where they're from, and tells, it kind of like defines the city. So with them, it's development. I actually have to go with Sleepy Rose. We're getting ready for his mixtape that's coming in a few weeks. So I have to meet him after this and kind of like walk him through how to announce his mixtape, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a beautiful thing, developing new acts. I think that's what I really love about the business more than anything.
Now, when you talk about developing acts, a lot of people aren't doing that anymore, especially like, these main labels,
Right.
mainstream labels. You don't really hear that often. They kind of want you to come with your shit together.
Mm-hmm.
And for you, being that this is something you enjoy doing, what does that look like, and how are you in the business of developing artists? Like, when you are looking for independent acts, what are you looking for when they come to you? Like,
Right.
should they have a following? Should they, you know what I'm saying?
Following is not really a big deal for me. For me, I have to love it. If I don't love it, I'm real passionate about what I do. Everything I do is really driven a lot by passion. So I have to be passionate about what you're doing, your music, your style. Mm-hmm. It's just something I see. I think that's my talent, is being able to see the star in somebody. That's kind of like what was, that was my talent. So
right.
I kind of, it's certain things that I pay attention to, how you move, how you walk in a room. Do you grab attention without saying anything? Some people have to walk in the room and be like, hey, I'm here. Some people just walk in the room and everybody be like, who is that? Mm-hmm. And those are like little signs that you got to pay attention to.
Right.
So,
and as a DJ, I'm sure that helps too. Like,
definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. It helps listening, to music.
Yeah.
And kind of picking up on how people
gravitate towards it.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Now, when you're, I guess, walk me through a bit of the process of actually developing an artist today. Like, what are some of the things? I mean, we talked about, I did the media training for them, so y'all offered that, which a lot of people don't even stress. I think that's important to do that for your artist. But beyond media training, what other things are you doing to develop?
I think you just pay attention to every little thing, from studio etiquette, like you said, the media training, if they need help, how to structure songs, you got to show them how to structure songs. Understanding the business, I think that's the biggest part of it is, don't be a big dummy. Like, really understand how the business goes, understand, what publishing is, what royalties are, relationships, how radio works, how streaming works today. So a big part of it, I think, is the more you educate somebody on the business, the better artists they become. So that's a part of development too, rather than just, showing them how to walk in a room and network with people, how to, treat your fans. It's like every little thing, you got to pay attention to every little detail, because you got to think like these are kids who are coming from, nothing really.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like they have no understanding, no guidance. They just... So, you got to teach them certain things, how not to burn bridges, Some things, though, they cannot be taught, you know what I'm saying? So you just kind of like take their gifts and where they excel at and polish it and just make it immaculate.
Right. Absolutely. Now, this has been home for you for some time, Atlanta. Right. What would you say, or how have you found success in this city? Obviously, your story is a little different. You came here and immediately linked up with somebody you knew, but why do you think you found success in Atlanta and then stayed and kind of built a foundation here?
That's a good question.
Thank you.
Atlanta's a special city, man. I mean, I've traveled a lot. I've lived in different places, and there's really no place like Atlanta, especially for Black people, so... Well, what was the question again?
How have you found success? Like, why do you think Atlanta is a place where you were able to lay your roots? And
I think it's something in the water. Atlanta is special, but I don't know. I think this is one of the cities that has the opportunity where if you really set your mind and you really work at it every day, it's a city full of creatives. It's kind of like a gumbo of people from everywhere, so people bring in all types of stuff. It's a lot of opportunity. You just got to make the best out of it. So... I don't think I'd want to live in any other city. Like Atlanta has been great to me. You know, the people here are very welcoming and they're very open to working with each other. Mm-hmm. I think that's a big part of it because like some cities you go to, people kind of stay in their own little cliques. It's kind of like a, crabs in a barrel mentality. Mm-hmm. But Atlanta is really, networking I think is the big part of it. It's like knowing people and people share information. People are not, withholding information. And I still think we have a lot of room to grow because what really surprises me about Atlanta is I don't understand why we don't have a major media outlet here. Especially for music. Major labels should be here, not New York anymore. Like everything is coming out of Atlanta. We're changing the sound of rap music, period. Black music in general. So it's just crazy. It's like they want to come to Atlanta and take what we have, but they don't really want to put back into what we're doing in Atlanta.
I agree completely.
So, but it's still, it doesn't stop it. That's what makes it special, I think. I think, maybe if they come down here, it might ruin it. I don't know.
Yeah,
but
honestly.
I think some certain things, though, we should have in Atlanta. Like, we shouldn't have to go to New York to do major media. You know what I'm saying?
I agree. Yeah, because you can run the circuit here in like a day.
But, part of it might be our fault, too. Going to New York rather than building our own down here.
I agree.
But I think in due time it's coming. I think the next generation of, execs like you, people like you are really like setting the standard. You know what I'm saying? I think before your generation, it was kind of like we were more focused on other things, but I see more, the next generation is more into, building platforms like this. Exactly. And I think it's up to us to come and support stuff like this, although I've been dodging this for a while.
Yeah.
I'm just camera shy.
Why? Why are you?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't like people knowing me. I want you to know me if you need to know me, but, I don't feel comfortable walking in the mall and a stranger recognizes me. It makes me very uncomfortable. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes I might be with my daughter and somebody's like, hey, what? And it's like, you don't really know what their intentions are.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
That's true.
So I like being low key. I don't want to be in the spotlight,
That's why you do.
I'm goofy as fuck too, so I don't really, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I think that you have so much knowledge to share, though. We've had great conversations, so I'm like, I need to make sure that you get on the podcast.
Yeah,
so.
I don't have a problem sharing it. It's just,
I understand.
Yeah.
And you have that right. Absolutely. I mean, and then it makes sense but just like you were a DJ, like people were watching you DJ.
But you know what's great? When I DJ'd, I didn't talk on the mic.
You didn't talk on the mic?
I'm shy by nature. Like, the mic was not my thing. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's kind of why I kind of walked away from DJing, because mic game is a big part of it, and I never wanted to talk on the mic.
So what about when you were touring? So how was that touring? I didn't know about the
It was horrible. No, I mean... I'm talking about the DJing part. You know what I'm saying? Like having to talk on the mic. Yeah. I never really got, comfortable with that. But I did it because it was part of the job.
Right.
But I didn't, I remember Rico one time pulled me to the side after a show and he was like, hey, man, you think you could say some more stuff on the mic and just be more engaging? Anyway, so it was tough for me.
Yeah.
And
how long were y'all touring?
I think I toured with him for like 2 years or something. Then I got fired.
For the mic game? Or
no.
Some other stuff?
I really don't know why I got fired. But I think the artist was self-destructing. And everybody got fired. You know what I'm saying? I was just kind of like the last one. No, I was the second. Rico was last. He ended up getting, I don't know what happened between them. I'm assuming he got fired too, but like the road manager, he just started like removing people from around him, and he was self-destructing. He was blaming everybody for his, I guess, what he wasn't excelling at. Mm-hmm. So he would find a reason,
projecting.
Exactly, like, hey, my show price is not where I wanted to be, so it's the road manager's fault. You're fired. My show is not where I wanted to be, so I'm going to get a new DJ, you're fired. It was just, he was self-destructing.
Yeah. I mean, and everything has a timestamp, too.
Yeah. But I think also it's kind of like, it's how you treat people.
True.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm a big believer in energy and karma, so.
That's true.
Anyway, that's not here nor there.
Neither here nor there. Yeah. You have your hands in a few different business ventures. That's the thing that I find most interesting.
Right.
Between real estate, and I'm sure there are other things that I don't know about. So
Right.
tell me why that is important for you to not only have your imprint in music and what you're doing with street execs, what you're doing as a
Right.
manager, but also in other spaces.
Honestly,
Yes, that's all I want is
Dave
honesty.
Chappelle.
Okay.
I was watching when Dave Chappelle show came out. He had Wu-Tang on there, and I don't know if you remember they had a skit about diversify your portfolio. And I didn't know what the fuck they was talking about, but I thought it was hilarious, so I went and looked it up, and I learned something. And I learned, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Like literally diversify your portfolio. So
That is funny.
So
Dave
that
Chappelle.
always kind of like stuck with me, right? And I just, apply it in life, and
That's what's up.
in I guess my investment side of things. But yeah, Dave Chappelle.
That's tight. How many streams of income do you have?
Wow, we going there?
Yeah, I've asked this a
I
few
don't
times
know.
at this
Let me
point.
see.
But I think it's important to discuss because people always say you should have at least 7 streams of income, but it's
Right.
like, well, how and why?
I'm trying to think. I mean, music is one. Real estate is another. Investments is another one. Those are my 3 main ones.
And there's probably some
But
other
I
things.
have a whole bunch of startups companies that haven't quite got off the ground.
Can we talk about the
Hospitality. I forgot about hospitality.
and where
Hospitality. I was trying to pronounce that right.
what do you have in hospitality?
I'm really trying to do more hotels type business.
Gotcha.
It's something that COVID kind of killed me,
Right.
so that's kind of like on pause.
Yeah. Understood. But wanted to ask you about the venture with A3C. Is that still a yeah, you guys bought into
Right.
yeah. How did that come about, and why do you think that was important to have a relationship with A3C or to
Right.
be a part of that?
I always had a relationship with A3C. I always loved what they were doing. The guy who was originally running it, Mike, we always stayed in contact. And it came to a point when when they had Lil Wayne and they had the incident or whatever, the next year he came to me and he had a conversation with me about selling A3C. And he was talking with a whole bunch of people, and I loved the idea, but I couldn't do it by myself.
Right.
So I always told him, just let me know who if we have the right pool of people, I'm in. Like, you can count me in. But I need to have the right partners. So he took a bunch of meetings, and then when I found out that Paul Judge and the Gathering Spot were in, I was like, that's it. I like that. You know what I'm saying? So I talked to Chains about it. He loved the idea, but we need stuff like that for Atlanta. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have Music Midtown and all that stuff, but that's not really Atlanta. You know what I'm saying? I think A through C is a real Atlanta festival, and it has a lot of room to grow.
Absolutely.
A lot of room to grow, and I'm glad that it's being ran by people who are of the culture. You know what I'm saying? We live it. We're a part of it. TK and them, those are brilliant people. Paul has a great, grip on tech in Atlanta. So it's just like, it's Black owned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. Speaking of Black owned, your family you being from Kenya, I'm curious as to how your heritage is like shapes the way you like move, you navigate in business, in music, in your space, in life, like
Right.
things that you grew up. Maybe your family, your parents, things that they instilled in you. In you, I have a lot of friends who are Nigerian, who are actually from Africa, and I feel like the way that they move or think business wise is a little different
Right.
than the way I may have grown up.
I think my mom instilled a lot that in me. She raised me. Well, she raised me and my siblings by herself, and she was like super like business savvy. Multiple streams of income. I should have paid attention to that back then, but she was doing that. I guess I was too young to really comprehend what she was doing. But she instilled in me, you got to really work hard for what you want. Like, she never made me fear hard work. You know what I'm saying? Like, my mom had a farm, right? And she used to grow beans.
Really?
Like, that was a thing. And she used to make me go to the farm with her every weekend and work on the farm. And I used to hate it.
Yeah.
To this day, I don't really eat beans because of that. Like, I really hate beans. But anyway, but she, like, when I think back on it, she really saved my life by forcing me to go to the farm every weekend because she instilled in me, you got to work hard for what you want.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So my mom was definitely a big part of that. You know what I'm saying? And then I think coming to the States is really realizing the opportunities that are there for you that you don't have. You know, like I could see the difference. You know what I'm saying? And not to get real racial about it, but I think the biggest thing that separates me from a lot of people is I was young enough, and people don't realize this. I grew up with a black president, a black teacher, a black, police officer. Everybody in a position of power was black. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And I noticed when I moved to Baltimore, that it was a complete, like, 360. So I noticed a difference. Like, there was nobody in position of power that was black. And people don't realize how that plays to your psyche when you don't have role models that you can look up to and be like, I want to be like them when I grow up. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a big part of your mind state. You gotta see bigger than that. So
yeah, I would even say the same. Being able to, like Georgia is a state, but like Atlanta.
I was exactly. I was going back to that because that's why I think what makes Atlanta special is because kids can really see black people in exactly. You know what I'm saying? Driving nice cars, living in nice homes, having good jobs,
being entrepreneurs,
exactly, doing whatever they want to do. So that's a big part. Like, you need that in life.
I agree.
But Baltimore was like, you never saw that, and it was depressing. Mm-hmm. It was depressing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like that's definitely the special part about this city. It's the only city. I've been able to travel across the states, and this is the only city that you can see, like, even what was going on with the police department and everything that's been happening with the police across America, and then what happened here in Atlanta with APD. It was just like, that's not my experience. I've never really I hadn't experienced that necessarily in the city. Now, you go outside the city, that's a different story.
Right. But, and even the people's reaction showed you that. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't as volatile as, other cities.
Places, yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Because our experience with police is totally different.
That's true.
Well, not totally different, but
it's the difference.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's a little different. Okay, so I have to. You mentioned your daughter earlier, so I have to ask, and I know how involved you are with your daughter, being a girl dad, having a family, but also being in this music. Not even like you're really. It's 24/7, 25/8 job. How are you able to balance that with her, with family, with your businesses? Like, has that been
include
difficult?
them.
Yeah,
I think that's just like my daughter is. I include her in everything I do. You know what I'm saying? I take her to concerts. You know what I'm saying? I take her. Maybe I shouldn't. Some people have different opinions, but I don't feel like, I expose her to everything that I do. I want her to see it. I want her to grow in it. I want her to appreciate it. And if she wants, sometimes she tells me she wants to take over the family business. That's what she calls it.
The family business.
Like, she wants to do what I do. Sometimes she wants to be a doctor, but I expose her to it. It's like, find your own way.
Right.
You don't have to do what I do. I want you to see that you can really do what you want to do.
Right.
If you really, put your mind to it. So yeah, I involve them. I involve my daughter in everything I do. I take her to concerts. I take her to work.
That's tight. Does she like want to do music specifically?
I think she's just now. Excuse me. The light is killing my eye.
Oh, I'm sorry.
She's discovering music in like the last year and a half. Like, really like discovering and finding like. She puts me on to new artists and stuff like that. So I don't know. We'll see what it takes her. But I know she definitely has the same love of music that I have that her mother doesn't have. You know what I'm saying? Because she always makes fun of her mom. Like, she don't listen to no music. She like playing Christmas music, So she's definitely got that from me. So we'll see where it takes her.
Nice. Now, is there anything coming up soon or that you're working on that you're excited about that we should know about?
Definitely a lot. Like I said, developing these acts, everybody has projects coming out, the usual. But it's just, I'm excited to keep impacting the culture in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And I'm not done. And I think we've had a 15-year run now, so I'm looking for another 15.
Yeah.
Then maybe I'll be done. I don't know.
Maybe.
Pass it on. But I think that's the most exciting thing for me is breaking new acts and introducing people and changing somebody's life. I think that's like the biggest thing for me. So that's what I'm really mostly excited about.
Let me ask you this one last thing, because I would be remiss if I didn't. I've had the opportunity to work with Bankroll.
Mm-hmm.
I have had the opportunity to work with street execs in general.
Mm-hmm.
But how do you navigate through times of like the unexpected, or tragedy in general, like moving forward? I told you earlier that I feel like you guys are very progressive, and
Right.
you continue to keep the ball rolling even when things happen.
Mm-hmm.
But like something that tragic that really, it affected the city, affected obviously you guys working
Right.
so closely with him. But I'm just curious as to like the pivot, and not really being able to control everything.
Right. Like you said, you definitely can't control everything. And honestly, that was just keep working. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, that was a tough time. It was a sad time. It was very unnecessary. But it was like, you just got to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people kind of alienated themselves from us, whatever. But I remember, I don't know who said it to me, but somebody said it to me. It was like, this is what greatness is made of. Like, you're given this responsibility because you can handle it. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't, I didn't want that responsibility, but I'm saying, but you just got to keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that y'all navigated it well post the tragic post tragedy, but I just think that I guess my question is, how or do you work to prevent like these situations from happening?
Definitely. I mean, we don't want anything like that to happen, period, even when it did happen. But it's kind of like you put your measures in place.
Right.
Some things you can't control,
Right.
but, we're definitely not just oblivious of it, but it kind of comes with the territory sometimes. A lot
Right.
of times, like, we're taking these kids out of, the streets, and we're trying to show them a different way. It's a transition. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a transition.
Yeah, I'm happy you said that though. Like, it's just things that you can't control, but you also can't pull people out of their environments completely necessarily. Like
Right.
when that's what you grew up with.
I mean, at some point you get there, you know what I'm saying? Some of it comes with age.
Right.
But I think, overall our intentions are pure. Our intentions are, we do music, like, we don't sell dope, we don't do none of that shit. So it's kind of like you just do the best you can.
Yeah.
You can't control every little situation.
Yeah.
But even when new acts, like, I have situations with them, and really it's the male ego. That's what it comes down to. And you got to teach people, like, don't be a victim of your ego. Don't make a decision in 2 seconds that's just going to change your whole life just because of your ego. Sometimes it's okay to walk away. It doesn't make you weak. It actually makes you strong if you can walk away from it. If you can stop somebody from completely changing your energy and having control over you, and you could be like, I ain't got time for this. It's powerful, you know what I'm saying? So you got to teach them that, but it's not an easy lesson. I've been young before. I get it. It's not easy, but it's something you got to teach people. Like, don't be a victim of your own ego.
See, that's what I was looking for. I needed that gem right there. Don't be a victim of your own ego. That's important. That's important. Well, I'm excited. I'm excited to see that y'all are navigating despite the circumstances.
Right.
Continue like making dope music, and also just being innovative with like the marketing and the rollout. That's always super impressive. So thank you. Yes. Can you tell them where they can find you or find the music?
Studio. Music. You can consume the music everywhere. Anywhere that you consume music at. Today is so diversified. You got options: Apple, Tidal, Spotify, YouTube, Amazon, whatever you use.
Mm-hmm.
You
wanna
all
share
the
your
artists are
socials?
on there. Not really.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm sure you'll see. You can look them up.
I'm
shout out
not
to
hard to find. I was actually thinking about deleting my social media and starting over so I
Swear.
can control who follows
Like a
me.
private account.
Yeah.
As long as you allow me to follow you.
Yeah, I really don't like the limelight. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I get it.
And like I said, it's such certain things that certain people shouldn't see, and
I agree.
and they follow me. So
yeah. I understand completely. It's no look.
I think the
You
biggest
share
thing,
what you want to share.
yeah, the biggest thing to keep my sanity is I have a life outside of
The business.
the business. You know what I'm saying? But don't get it wrong. Like, the business is my life, but I do have moments where I have a life outside of that, and it's not for everybody to see. That's how I feel.
I appreciate that 100%, and I agree with that 100%. That's great advice to anybody listening to have to have some sort of balance. But no, thank you, Tech. I appreciate you for finally doing this for me, for Kurt. Like, we appreciate you. As always, you guys can find this podcast on social media at IDM Podcast, as well as myself at Sammy Approved on all social media platforms. Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers. Sonically superior.